Anyway, this is a pet. This is a pet butler. So, if you want to get that little bit of extra legwork out of man's best friend, here is a serving tray for
my dog's
dog.
too crazy for all that. She's a Jacoby, so she's like, how?
Look at this cat's face. He's not impressed with this bowl of strawberries.
No, the cat pissed.
This is Overtime, a live series brought to you by Lynx and War Room Media, where we talk about basically anything we want. And here are your hosts, Greg Williams and Ryan Ray. Hello.
Up, man.
I'm not frozen, man.
Me either.
I tell you what. I was giving you props earlier with I was talking with Arvy on the West Africa Weekly, and some of the no, it's not a windfall yet, but some of the stuff that you've put out over the course of this last week, just in regards to all of the outages and what's kind of behind it and things like that. I got to say it was a good piece. I enjoyed it, Ryan. You put a lot of time into that and a lot of effort into that, and plus some follow-up interviews that you've done. So it's been, so for anyone out there that's just joining us, I'm Greg Williams with Lynx. This is my partner here, Ryan Ray, with War Room Media. And Ryan puts out some pretty interesting information. Sometimes people tell him it's crap, but like 99% of the time, he's really spot on what he's talking about. And he put out a piece. You'll have to subscribe to get it. Anybody, and it's cheap. I mean, it's cheaper than 2 loaves of bread a month, so you can knock it out. But
hey, I like how you said that. Cheaper.
You can.
I 2 loaves of bread a month.
I used to use coffee, but it's not that cheap. So at any rate, he put out a good piece on the some of the grid issues that we've had here in Texas over this last week or so. So jump in there and go check it out.
Yeah, and actually, what I'll do, Greg, is since you brought it up, I will share a link, and if folks use that link, it supports the show. It's a mutually beneficial thing. So we keep talking about sponsors. Well, here's a quick and dirty way to just help you boys out right here.
Absolutely. Let me look at something here. Okay.
You see, I got
what's that? Go ahead, buddy.
Did you see I got called demented?
No, I didn't see that one.
Oh man, you missed it. Yeah. So, well, we can get in the show, or I can tell you the story. You tell me.
Go ahead. No, let's tell me the story. I'm ready.
Right. So, yesterday I interviewed Ted Cruz, right?
Yeah.
And okay, so
I made it about halfway through the interview. And
okay.
I had to let the dogs out. It was more important at the time. So
I'll just pull the curtain back here for our viewers. So this has been going on since last May. I've been trying to get this interview, and I met one of his staffers at a meeting with an African ambassador last February, and we changed cards, and then we started talking during the COVID kind of mask stuff that was going on, because that's a mask stuff I was working on. And then Cruz started talking about something. I think it's China. I was like, hey, we should get him on the show and talk about this. They're like, yeah, sure. And so this thing happened, and couldn't ever get it pinned down. So this went on for months, kind of on and off, kind of would intensify and then die down. And then I thought it was October, but I went back as May. So then in October, he started talking about some oil and gas stuff. Started talking about it again. So anyways, so this has been going on since last May, getting him on the show. And so finally we get it done. And I will say this, there was nothing off limit. They didn't say, hey, you can't talk about this. You can't bring this up. And so I just went with, the questions that I thought were relevant. Obviously people want to, I think some people were frustrated that I didn't bring up the Cancun stuff, but listen, you can go hear that on every other appearance he's ever had. I tried to ask him the questions I thought were relevant to the things I talk about. So anyways, and so I sent it out, and someone sends me an email. This person has received 108 of my emails from the newsletter you're talking about. 108. They've read 2 of them, because I can go see the numbers when. So there's like 13,000 lists. I don't know most of these people. And so they sent me this email. Where is it? Oh man, I should have this pulled up. And it said, "You're You're demented, basically. Yeah, they call me demented for having on Ted Cruz.
So demented is in needed to be in kind of an institute, or what angle were they coming with? Demented, like joking demented, or was it definitely honest?
Here it is. Okay, here it is. I can't show my screen, can I? It says you're a demented to emblazon Ted Junk Room Cruz. One day you may figure that out. ... Until in meantime, comma, and this is all caps. Never period contact period me period again period, and like 7 exclamation points.
Thanks for your subscription.
And so what I sent back, because I can have a rule. If you send back like, hey, I'm off the list, I'm having problems, take me off. I'm always nice, sure, whatever. But if you come across as a jerk, I just sit back, you're removed from the list. Also, read your email again and tell me who is demented with a little winking smiley face. Because who sends that email? Greg, let me ask you something. Do you think if AOC wanted to come on my podcast, I would have her on?
Yeah.
Of course I would. Why wouldn't I?
There's no
business.
This is what you do, man. There's no. It wouldn't be. Why? Also, I have to go at the other side of the conversation too. Like, why would you subscribe to something that you don't want to be? That you want to just as it just. Typically it's like this. I find out if people get free things, they typically give you the worst comments. But it's strange that you would subscribe to something and still give a bad comment. This
is a free subscriber. This was not a paying subscriber.
Oh,
yeah. So
there's the thing there. So yeah,
because I don't. You're right. My paying subscribers usually when they send back feedback, it's they might get frustrated or whatever, but they give me substance, like, hey, I think you missed this here, or you should have brought this here, and that's all.
I find, and I'll just be straight up honest with you, regardless of our relationship and what we're doing with our show and everything else. What I find myself doing sometimes is if I have a disagreement in something, normally that turns to like gray, and I drive past it, and your information typically outweighs that gray area. Mm. So I don't get hung up on it is what I mean. So if there's people out there that are getting hung up on 1 or 2 or maybe 3 sentences in a commentary, maybe they're not getting the gist of the actual conversation here. What it actually what you're getting at. So
yeah, I'll just kind of leave it like this, because what I found interesting is this person said that I would emblazon him. Okay, so first off, he's a sitting U.S. senator, one of the highest ranking members of the Republican Party.
8 years, might I add.
Yeah, I don't think I'm doing much to boost his ego. I don't think he's like waking up on Wednesday morning going, I can't do it today. I cannot do it. Ryan Ray's have me on. Okay. Whew.
Yeah, okay. He's not.
I'm good now. I
don't see him just beating your door down. I get where you're going. Yeah.
He doesn't know who I am. It's his staff that set this up for me. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is that this person who emailed me, I don't know if they dislike Cruz personally or if they're not a Republican. I don't know, because I don't know this person personally. But if they're not a Republican, what would it take to convince that person? And I'm not a Republican, I'm a Libertarian, so I always make that clear. What would it take to convince this Democrat, I'm assuming they're Democrat, to become a Republican? It would take a lot of work, not a one-off shoot 25-minute interview with Ted Cruz. Right? And so what I found fascinating about thinking through this is that people believe that everyone else is easily convinced, right? Despite the fact that very few people are easily convinced. Because if everyone was easily convinced, we would just have people switching their opinions all the time. That's not how the world works. Not on things that you actually care about. Now, if some peripheral issue, like if you said, like let's talk about the Mars thing, can we make it to Mars? I don't think so. But listen, I don't know enough to actually like die on that hill. And if I talk to some rocket scientist, I would change my mind, because it doesn't matter. If you're talking about my political philosophy, though, or things that are important to me, I'm pretty entrenched in those positions. I'm willing to discuss them. I'm willing to debate them, but I'm not going to change because of a Ted Cruz or an AOC interview. Right. We project that on people that they're going to be flippant and just change their mind because they heard this person speak here or that person speak there. And so I think we've got to kind of, as society, think through that people aren't just changing their mind every day. That's not how it goes.
Well, we're also not. It's not entrained in our thinking to be bilateral, thinkers and move from one area to the next area without there being some issues in between. We're not built that way, you know. So it's not like, okay, well, yeah, one day I like ice cream, next day I hate ice cream. Like that's not the case, right? So, by the way, might I add, I still love the opener to this show. I really do.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, I really like it. So let's get into this rundown.
Where's your Good Things hat at, by the way?
Man, I typically, because I got the banner in the back and the shirt on, I figured the hat would be too much, man. I mean, like, come on. I mean, it's
It's like, the hat keeps drawing my attention now. It's like, okay,
well, if the reason I wore the hat today was because of the Italian ambassador that was killed in DRC here this past couple of days this last week. So it's more of a tribute to Italy and some of the stuff that they got going on. So I think a lot about Italy and the country of Italy. Got a lot of good friends that work in Italy. So anyway, that's the story kind of behind the hat. So
did you see the coffin that slid off the
I did, and it's an absolute travesty to have something like that. And then some of the comments back on that were, and now you have to take it for what it is. It was a Times article, but I mean, it's why would you build that on the side of a mountain? I'm struggling here. I mean, was there like another 3 or 4 miles of shore in front of it at one point in time? I mean, it's hard for me to believe why you would build something that was an heirloom, basically. That people treasured for hundreds of years. Why would you put something like that on the side of them? Did they think that it was just going to be there forever? I mean, they're on the coast with erosion. I mean, they've been fighting erosion for years, and I understand that, that the town has not necessarily sued, but have opened up a inquisition about why this wasn't done or this wasn't done. But how do you fix that? You're supposed to relocate stuff like that, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And I mean, even things where we've done, man-made lakes and put in different things like that. I mean, Toledo being a good example, but it's actually a good example, but probably the worst example because it wasn't all the way done. So there's still some things there that should have been removed. Mm-hmm. But that's part of the budget process. You go in there and you look and see what's there and what it's going to cost for you to move it. Mm-hmm. And if people don't want to get on board with it, then they pay them out and say that's okay. You can leave it right there where it's at and cover it up with whatever you want to cover it up with. No big deal. But at the end of the day, when you see something slide off the side of a mountain, you got to be thinking to yourself, "Hey, man, I don't know how many coffins went in the water, but they only got 8. What they say, 8, 12, 8 of them back.
That
8 of them back. I don't see that being a successful mission. You know how heavy wet mud is.
I know.
I mean, I just
200 million.
Again, my heart goes out to those families because I know, people need places to grieve, and that's the way that they grieve. But sometimes you just have to shift that thought. But again, if one of my loved ones' bodies was in a coffin in the sea there and I could get to it, I'd probably spend some time trying to get it out of there. So
yeah, it's a bad deal.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right. Let's get over here. All right. So we'll go through our oil process, which Ryan is it's been a couple of weeks since we did a show, so he ought to be right primed for this one. We'll talk about the Saudis' $10 billion pipeline, Goldman Sachs Brent forecast, Iraq slamming the door on China's $2 billion there, dCarbonX, which is going to be interesting. If a lot of people don't know, that's some of the carbon capture technology and company out there. But and then moving past that, we'll talk about how much a peace sign costs these days. We'll also talk about the Texans there with Deshaun Watson and J.J. Watt. Then we'll cover a bit of bare knuckle fighting championship 16. What Ryan and our picks are. Have you looked at it? Have you looked at the card? Did you check it out?
I've seen the headline, but I need to pull the full card up.
Well, we can wait till we get down there to it. I've got the card pulled up on the tab, but I mean it's a small card right now, but we'll see what they add to it. But hopefully they'll put some more on there. There's only 2 fights so far.
Well, yeah, that's kind of their deal. They usually it's not until March 19th, and so I know. I saw one of the fighters was talking about he was trying to get some of his buddies on there or something. So
one of those guys has been fighting for a while. He's spending like 50, 65. But we'll talk about it in a minute, but or later. But and then we'll close up there with some items from our if next time you have to go into quarantine, if you're if you're flying in from international countries or going into international countries, try out some of these items. So there's going to be 10 items there that we've did a little search around and found them on Amazon. You'll find them quite interesting. So without further ado, Ryan, the oil prices. So Brent is at 66.86 and WTI is at 63.20. What's your thoughts?
I think that they're going to stay up. I mean, I don't know. It's I kept for so long thinking that they were overpriced. I still think there's plenty of reason to believe that they're overpriced, but at some point you just got to say it doesn't matter what you believe. I think there's a couple things. One, I don't know how much higher they can go for a couple of reasons. I don't think the economy in the U.S. and globally can actually support much higher prices. So if food prices are up, of course, gasoline prices will rise, diesel prices will rise. As those things rise, that means that all these other prices, milk, cereal, everything, goes up, or you have less product for your buck, right? So there's some kind of inflationary price swap that you have to do there. So, how much higher can we support these prices when you look at unemployment, not just in the U.S., globally? It's quite a problem, I think. And so, will it go up beyond 70, 75? Who knows? We'll see. I had Anas Alahaji on Inside the War Room on Tuesday talking about this on some level, and so folks can go check that out. But yeah, they're high. The other thing is that will China start putting these barrels from their SPR back on the market to kind of put the price back? And at some point, you got to assume they're going to do that as well. So maybe get up to 70, 75 for a period of time, possibly. But beyond that, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it kind of rolls right back into the next thing we'll talk about there. But the Saudi's $10 billion pipeline, and we get into Goldman Sachs Brent forecast. But Ryan, they're saying that this sale here could be one of the largest infrastructure deals this year. It's got investors in there such as Apollo, BlackRock, Brookfield, CIC, and GIP all in there, tossing some numbers around. But of course, we're speaking about this and kind of on the heels of the Keystone pipeline being canceled, amongst other executive orders that have been placed on the industry. But some of these investment companies are located, in the U.S. with interests all over the world. So my question here is, what makes sense, Ryan? Why would we want to invest domestically? Why would we not want to invest domestically or be allowed to invest domestically, but have to be forced to invest elsewhere in projects kind of like this one here?
Well,
I mean, it rings, what do you want to call it? It's like pot calling kettle black, man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think you have to kind of go back to let's go back to the Ted Cruz conversation for just half a second here.
Sure.
The issue is we don't want to talk about things. We want to make things very small, very simple. 1 + 1 = 2. And so if you say, well, we want to make sure that the U.S. is a leader in climate change or reduction in carbon emissions, we still got to have oil and gas. Like, that's not going anywhere.
Sure.
So do you think these hedge funds, these private equity groups are going to be like, oh, okay, we're just not going to invest in these lucrative opportunities around the world?
Here's all your money back.
Right. And so it's one of the most frustrating things in the world is the hypocrisy. And what happens is that the left pushes a narrative, and so people respond a certain way. The money goes somewhere else, and the right's like, what are we doing? And no one ever stops to say, like, guys, we have to do things a little bit differently here. If you want to reduce environmental impact, okay, that's fine. Let's have that discussion. Pipelines are the best way to do it. And I want to say this. I saw this article, and I won't call out anyone here. I'll just make it a point. I saw this article today talking about, use the word climate. They talked about climate and how the climate was going to be impacted by this certain act over here. We have sent the boat out on climate. Climate now means anything that happens in the environment. So, for instance, I'm breathing in oxygen, putting out CO2, right? That's how that works for oxygen in, right. Yeah. And I've got these lights on here. I'm burning electricity.
I put off large amounts of CO2.
Yes, I've grown the whole rainforest myself. And so I say all that to say that you start laughing.
I'm not an environmental hater. I'm not a climate hater. I want to do what's right, and that's why I wanted to cover this dCarbonX piece here too later on. But yeah, go ahead.
So what I'm saying is that if I spilt my gas can into the river across the street right there, which it could spill, not it wouldn't get much in there, but let's say I spilt it in there. If you call that a climate disaster or a climate problem, that is not the proper use for climate.
It's not.
And we have just to quit allowing people to use the word climate when they mean environment. And that's a big thing that we're seeing. And I did write about the piece. I wrote a piece about this in the War Room a couple weeks ago about you're talking climate justice and how climate justice will ultimately be environmental justice. And so us who are concerned about how to handle these things properly, we need to really watch this narrative where climate now means anything impacting the environment and not actually impacting the climate, which there is overlap there, obviously, but it's not a one-to-one.
Yeah, but I mean, climate's everything under the sun.
Well,
in the atmosphere, is it not?
I mean, it depends on how you define it, right? So if you're defining me spilling something into the water as climate problems, then yeah, then
I mean, you're inside of a snow globe, man. I mean,
so climate
it doesn't leave the planet.
Right. The definition of climate is the weather conditions prevailing in an area in general or over a long period.
Yes.
So spilling water, so doing something that impacts the local environment is not necessarily an impact on the climate. It may not be.
But there's a quantity that they specifically say of whatever atomized particles does impact the climate. So I mean, if you go out there and spill that tank of gas in the river, I mean, where's it going? It's not evaporating into the air. Somebody may drink that, but should our filtration system take that out of there if we're drinking it?
An environmental issue, not a climate issue. That's what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is, if you have a tanker that's carrying 5,000 barrels of isopropylene and it crashes on I-45 and spills all over the place and then evaporates, it doesn't go off the planet. It goes into the climate.
Of course, but it doesn't mean it's going to cause climate change or it's a climate issue.
Well, no, this is why I was saying this is why I was bringing up the point about volume, because when you start looking at the volume count and numbers, if there's 150,000 of those trucks with 5,000 barrels of isopropylene on it that spills every year, we're talking serious stuff here. Sure. So again, I think it's a volume scale that it's hard for people to look at 3 billion metric tons of CO2 and actually put that into something that's reasonable. Like, what does that fit inside of? What does 1 metric ton of CO2 fit inside of? It's a metric ton. So it should look like a metric ton of steel. Metric ton of carbon, same thing. So it should look like that, right? So, but in people's minds, they just don't put that size of things together. So it's easy to confuse the two words. I get it.
Right. Well, okay. So to your point, if there was a metric ton of carbon released from the house, the question is where does that impact the climate at? And that's so
inside the house.
No. Like I went in my backyard. I released a metric ton of carbon into the atmosphere. Right. Okay. So that's going to impact the climate. The question is where? Because as you did. Okay. Right. So, but these are the fundamental questions and discussions that we have to have.
It is, and I 100% agree with you. And talking about if we're talking about just taking for carbon, for example, again, you and I have shared a discussion over the last couple of days, but speaking about smaller countries, I say smaller countries, but less developed countries are having to live by the same rules inside the Paris Agreement as, say, like your United States and Canada is, of the bringing the temperatures down to hopefully 1.5, whatever. But they are being held liable for the same thing that we are, but they're putting out 90% less CO2 than what we do. But if you look at forecast numbers over the next 10 years, it's got them going above and beyond our CO2 emissions by 300%. And how is that even possible? They don't even have that many people with power. So I don't even understand. So again, it's about understanding volume, either it's people, whether it's carbon, whatever it is, and also where the numbers coming from. That's the other big thing. Who's putting the numbers together?
I want to put the numbers together.
I do too. I do too. I do too. All right. So Goldman's raised the forecast on Brent to 75 by spring. I mean, you've been saying 75 since we turned the corner of the year, and you were saying it like the next day. So looks like we may be getting there pretty soon. But I mean, are we looking at a kind of a realignment here? What do you think? No.
Yeah, I mean,
is it poised for a big rebound or what, man?
I mean, you tell me. So when I look at this,
I mean, when we talk about big rebounds, we're not talking about like Paige Van Zandt getting beat down. We're talking about we're talking about. I had to toss it in there. We missed the she did okay. She did okay. I had to toss it in there because we missed the recap on that episode of Overtime because I was traveling. And then we froze over the Gulf of Mexico. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, does it look like it's going to be something that's going to skyrocket? I mean, I personally hope not. I think things need to stay on the level for a while. That way everybody can kind of get their finances in order, because it's important to get set up right if there is something coming down the road, which possibly might be. Nowhere, especially the Permian, is even set up financially to go back into that deal unless there is some production increases, and we don't want that. And that's the only point I want to make.
No, I mean, I think you're right. I think that I think there's a couple things. One, all the things you said I would agree with, and then the only thing I'd add to that is two things. One, a high spike in price might lead. If we get to like $95, which I don't think we will, but if it was $95 by May, we'd probably see another, cataclysmic fall off, and would really cripple the industry. So you have that. So you don't want it to rise too high from that standpoint. And then B is I don't think, if you look at unemployment, you look at not just in the U.S. globally, I just don't think people have money, and so they are living not check to check, but pretty close to it for a lot of folks. And so if you start raising the price of milk, start raising the price of gas, start raising the price of cereal, or you're getting less cereal for your buck, which means you get to buy more cereal, whatever it is. Soybean prices, corn price. Look at all those prices; they're astronomically high right now.
Yeah, all the futures are high. Yeah.
I don't think anyone can really afford much higher prices, and so then you get to a spot where the price is up, and all of a sudden you have people who can't afford it, and then you got a really bad issue in that case. So we like high prices, but I think we really want the prices to stay between 60 to 70. Best case is kind of our best case scenario.
Yeah, I don't want to believe the hype on the 100 that they've been talking about here. I don't even want to and the only reason I'm bringing it up is because of, the forecast that we're talking about right here. But I don't want to see 100. And I know people are going to want to hate to hear me say that, but the idea is stability and time.
Right.
That's what we want. We want a stable market, and we want that for as long as we can get it, because you can do things like, if you've ever sat down in your house, and we've all lived check to check, and you figured out your monthly bills for that month, and the next month you didn't work. Well, guess what happened to your forecast? It went to shit. So I mean, this is the idea. You want to keep the same amount of money in for as long as you can get it. That way you can you can figure up all of the ins and outs that's happening there. So it's just it needs to stay stable. That's the main thing.
100%.
But I do think we're in a better place than we were in, September, October last year. I think so. At least I feel like we're, when they held back at the first of the year, it showed a lot of resilience. and it showed that that they were willing to, that they understand the depths of what they were about to do. And so equally we did the same. And so I think the longer we hold off like that, the better the entire world will be. So
I hope you're right,
man. I'm trying. I don't do good with forecasts, Ryan. I've never. And you say that, and I manage installations professionally, and you say I'm not good with a forecast. It's not the case. But when you're talking about something that has so many different players in it, like this one right here, I say so many different players, but it's not. It's really a couple of big players, but it's the economics of everything that goes into it. Just exactly like you said, the median, the middle class, and everybody losing money, not having jobs, that goes into it. You're talking about 25% of the airlines are still not back up and running yet, 30%. And those people are all going to be finding new jobs here pretty soon. So if they haven't already, and I mean, just people are turning away from, mass transportation now, just simply because now when you go to get on a train, now instead of that car being, that section being located or allocated for 12 people, now it's allocated for 6. And so, I mean, it's double cost. So if you're providing public transportation, it's costing the city twice as much because of now they're losing the capacity, and now you're trying to find something else to ride on or drive in. So,
well, let me ask you this: and what happens when people realize the vaccine does not prevent you from getting the virus?
I mean, I don't think it's widely known. I mean,
it's really interesting because it's not been widely talked about, but today the New York Times, and so for people don't think I'm crazy, the New York Times put out a piece, and they said, and I got the quote right here on my Twitter feed for those who might care. It says, the coronavirus vaccine made by Johnson & Johnson provides strong protection against severe disease and death from COVID-19. And it goes on to say, and may reduce the spread of the virus by vaccinated people, according to new analysis released. Now, the reduction of the spread, I believe, is because they're less symptomatic, so they're not just blowing stuff out everywhere. But it does not prevent you from getting it. And so this is not just Johnson & Johnson. This is all of them, to my knowledge. And so the more I wonder, people want the vaccine, but I wonder how many of them realize that it's not a vaccine as you would think about normally.
Well, the idea there would be, and it kind of goes in line with the way that they're kind of blah 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 blah, giving everyone a drug. Anyway, administering it, that it falls into certain classes of people. So again, whenever I go to hang out with people, I'm typically within my age group of people. I'm typically in a place that has people of my age group in it. I mean, I don't find myself wanting to go hang out with, teenagers. I don't find myself wanting to go hang out with people that's twice my age, if they're still alive. But at the end of the day, it falls in line with age groups and the way things are being rolled out. Because, if typically if you're a frontline worker, you're probably spending 12, 16 hours on a job. And, when you're getting off, you're not looking to hang out with nobody, So, and then the next line of people down is your elderly, and they're typically hanging out with elderly, so it's not like, yes, they get visits by the family and everything else, but typically, their time is being spent with other people their age. So, in respects of not getting the actual virus or being, the vaccine still allowing people to get the virus, is it still not practical to go ahead and get it? Because you can't transfer it as easily between yourselves anymore.
Well, I mean, everyone needs to do what they want to do. So if you want to get it, get it. If you don't want to get it, don't get it. I mean, I think the survival rate is so high for people of our age group, unless you have an underlying condition, that I don't see the point in getting it.
I mean, I have some underlying conditions. I mean, I like jelly donuts. So I mean,
okay. We talking about that ain't underlying. That's out poking. Okay. And I got them too. I got a big one right here. I got a big one right here. But like I say, Chris Christie survived it. I think I'm.
But why is there so with different makers of different vaccinations? Is there a large gap between the findings of one vaccination than the other? I mean,
Well, when you get into some of the international stuff, I think there is, but supposedly the ones in the US are basically all the same, 2-shot, 1-shot, stuff like that. But yes, I mean, if you want to get it, I'm not mad at anybody for wanting to
I mean,
get it.
does one of them like give you night terrors and the other one do like quit smoking drug and like makes you see like green dragons and stuff? So it's nothing like that, right?
No, but that's what's fascinating about the vaccine thing is that if there's multiple vaccines, and I don't know enough about vaccines, generally speaking. It's like the flu. I don't know if one company's making all the flu vaccines or if there's 100. I have no idea. I've never looked into that. So this is kind of, and I'm sure most people probably don't know either. It's just, either you get the flu shot or you don't.
I do know there's a lot of money in it though.
A lot of money, a lot of money in it. A lot.
As Samuel Jackson say, faux show. So,
yes, if they want to sponsor this podcast with that money, we'll be talking about vaccines all day.
I'd have a vaccine shirt on right now. I'd have Pfizer. I'd even have a medical alert necklace on just in case, So, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about it's a security factor. So, I mean, if the chances, if people don't want to take that 2% chance, Ryan, then I support that.
Oh yeah, no. I'm not mad. Like I said, if you want the vaccine, get it. I'm not mad about that. My question is, I'm curious when people realize that the vaccine, if you've gotten the vaccine, you're not safe from getting it. If that will keep them from getting out and about still. So like,
would you ever know if you had it anyway? I mean, typically people that are asymptomatic don't know anyway. So if you're asymptomatic, are you getting the vaccine?
Is that the reason? Well, yeah. Well, that's yeah.
I mean, again, I think it's, and the wife and I have had multiple different conversations about, the vaccine and things with the virus and everything else. So, but it always comes to the same conclusion, that no conclusion.
Well, we're not, I can tell you, unless I've got to go out of the country or there's some extreme circumstances, I will be the headline. Fat guy dies refusing to get vaccine. Like I'm willing to take those chances. And it's not I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I just don't normally get shots anyways. And so, I mean, look at me. I'm not a
I mean, if you're going to be out running free anywhere in West Africa, I suggest you get a couple of important vaccinations.
Well, okay, no.
I'm not really worried about COVID that much, but you need
malaria or typhoid. I've had, for sure. When I had to get them, I got them. But just to go get a flu shot every year, I roll the dice.
Oh, never have done the flu shot thing.
Yeah, because you're a gangster like that.
Gangsters. It's in your backyard. So, just because of China, but this Iraq says no to China's $2 billion, just pretty much straight up. So, Ryan, is this a pushback just based on the current and forecasted prices? Do they see something in the future that we don't? What's your thoughts on this one?
I don't know. This is kind of a weird deal, right? I mean, do they
want to hold out and wait on the market a bit longer?
So there's been a lot of problem with China and not China, with Iraq and some of their contractors because they're overproducing back the last year. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. You wouldn't think that there would be some kind of issue with
them. The little country's cash strapped, man. I don't know what's going on. I mean, if it was me and I'd have to be looking at it from just a cash perspective, I don't know. Is China the guys I want to be owing $2 billion to? I mean,
no, but if you're Iraq, I mean,
and you need $2 billion, I mean, yeah.
Me and you probably don't be in bed with in debt to China for $2 billion, but Iraq's probably done worse deals with worse people. So,
well, you're right. I mean, but realistically, we don't know what we're in debt for. We don't even own our property. Hello, everybody from India, Venezuela, Oman, Abu Dhabi. Looks like we've got some Houston in there, some Indonesia. Algeria. Thanks for coming on today, checking out the show.
Absolutely.
Ryan, I appreciate your 3 seconds of time, however long you stay around. If it's 3 seconds, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it's all appreciated.
That's right.
But yeah, so moving on here. I don't have much more to say about this one. I would find it's equally as strange, but having a country that needs cash But they got to be holding out on something. I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, that is weird. I don't understand it.
The next thing we'll talk about here is dCarbonX. And so when we start talking about carbon catching technology and some different things, just a few minutes here. So the guys behind dCarbonX are all earth science people. Some with pedigrees kind of longer than my honeydew list at home, but which I try to keep that down to a minimum. But all joking aside, they got some heavy duty paperwork behind these guys. So they claim whether it is a intermittent renewable producer requiring energy storage, a facility or process requiring geothermal energy, or an industrial complex seeking permanent carbon sequestration capacity, dCarbonX uses its unique technical skills and knowledge base, as well as deep industry, financial, commercial, and academic networks to identify, co-venture, and progress these dispatchable baseloads assets. So as of recent, they signed a framework there with Stena Drilling, which is a drilling contractor based in the UK, for which the companies will work together on engineering solutions to discover and develop subsurface assets for a combination of geothermal energy, molecular energy storage, and basically carbon capture. So in layman's terms, what these guys do is they go out and they find subsurface locations to store carbon. So one thing to add to that is that Elon Musk also jumped in there with kind of about the same time with 100 million for the best carbon capture technology. So Ryan, there's something behind what they're doing here. And so I'm not asking the question because Elon Musk is in it, and it seems like Elon is just about in every show we do. But if there's companies out there putting money into it and frameworks into it, is there really something there for this? For the kind of like, is it going to be like a transition technology, or is it just something to kind of get us by?
I've wondered about this. So obviously, I'm sure that all carbon, has, so you got the CO2, but I'm sure that some of the carbon has other things attached to it that makes it
sequestration. Have you tried to pronounce that? That's a brutal sequestration.
Sequestration.
It's just fancy word for capture.
Yeah, that's tough. So my question, I guess, really on this is, how do we know? And I'm asking genuinely, how do we know how much carbon we should capture?
I'm sure that's a good question. I mean, how did they ever figure out how much volume goes into an object? How much volume is inside of an object? There has to be a way, and this is why I said these guys are all earth science people. So they know how much volume. They know how much volume would go inside the pore of a rock, porosity of the fracture, or whatever hole is inside of that. They know the size of that, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How much do we know is good to take out of the atmosphere? So, like, let me make.
So, what you're saying is, how would we meter it, or how do we meter it to know that we're actually being effective? Is that what you're trying to say?
Not effective. At some point, you're taking out too much. Like, if there's no carbon in the atmosphere, all the trees die.
Well, I think the idea here is that you're capturing what you're producing and not adding additional to the atmosphere.
Right, I understand that. I'm saying, how do we know?
Okay. I get it. I mean, you suck all the air out of the balloon, it's gone. I mean, I get it. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying, but is the technology not a cornerstone or a stepping stone to allow the continuous use of oil and gas or drilling and exploration until we get to a point where we feel that we're capable and can sustain renewable and green energy?
Yeah, I mean, again, my question is still the same: is that if we need, so there's a couple ways to think about this. One, if you look up a headline at least 3 or 4 times a year, we get told about the Amazon rainforest, right? So the Amazon rainforest to grow, we need a couple things. We need to quit, cutting the trees, but it also needs carbon dioxide to fuel those plants. So on some level, when we talk about removing carbon, again, some of the stuff it got to be scrubbed. I'm sure, but just generally speaking, to remove carbon from the atmosphere, I don't think is. I think everyone and these guys. I've looked at some of these models before. I think that we presume that it's a very simple process, and I just don't buy into that theory. I don't buy that you can start removing copious amounts of carbon and then all of a sudden not impact the climate. That's not how the world works. When you build a windmill, you've impacted the environment and potentially.
Right.
And so when we start talking about this, I'm just curious, how do we know how much carbon is too much to be putting in and how much is too much to be taking out? Because it's not just oil and gas. You've got cows and goats and all these other things that are putting in carbon emissions. And so try to balance this thing is a little bit more
I think it's about footprint. I think it's about, it's less means more type deal. I think the idea of, I mean, we've had pollution registers in place for forever, and doing everything that we do, and all of those are, sent off to your your regulatory authorities every month, every quarter, depending on whatever the requirement is. And it's not like we didn't know what we were doing. That's the thing. So the science behind it and how we get to a point where, where we say, okay, that's enough carbon we've taken out of the air today. I mean, I don't think we'll ever be to a point where we could be spot on with it. But again, I go back to it. I think the idea here is to take what you're producing and do something with that and not stick it in the air. But again, what the other thing is, it brings up other questions that I may have, like what happens to that carbon when you put it in, a fracture 20,000 feet below the seabed. Like, where does it go? I mean, does it all run to like the parking lot at Walmart and just stay there? I mean, no, it's going to be spread out all over the place. So how do you know? Do you just mark it in this big circle on the map and say you can't go over here and drill a well because there's a bunch of compressed CO2 down there? I mean, imagine what that kind of pressure would look like if you popped into it. I mean,
right. So in the U.S. on land, in the U.S., you have to put it so deep that you will never drill through it again. That's my understanding. So I had a guy reach out talking about
that's pretty deep, bro.
Right. And so think about that. So he reached out talking about because there's a story about Exxon and how they didn't finish a sequestering job. And so he reached out and was kind of explaining to me the couple ways that they get carbon credits. And he talked about the sequestering. He said, so to sequester it, you have to put it where it's sealed off, but then you can never drill through it again. It's like that's how deep it is. So
how do you, I guess it's also the storage container capability of that thing to last forever too. I mean, unless you're putting it in a salt dome, I don't see it staying there forever.
Right. So. Probably not. Probably not.
Again, Relon. Yeah. I put really and Elon together there and made a cool new, anyway, cool new word. But I think the reason that Elon's on it is because he's probably getting hammered for burning off all that fuel in his rockets. He need to figure out what to do with it. So who knows? That's funny. The guy that's got all the the money for Tesla is in here looking for carbon capture technology to for his rockets. So I'm sure that's what it's for.
Well, I'll say this: I'm not saying that there's not that we can't figure out ways to use carbon.
We will.
I think that may be the better angle, but trying to sequester it and put it tens of thousands of feet below the surface of the earth seems like a pointless exercise to me.
I'm not well versed enough to know what happens to carbon over 200 years. Does it turn into a diamond? I mean, what is it? Do we come back, 200, 300 years from now and, we just have like multiple diamond mines everywhere now? I mean, I don't know what happened to it.
Yeah.
That's why I said there's some serious brains working on something somewhere. And I'm sure Exxon has some people in there that's probably more versed in it than me. That's for sure. It's interesting because of the amount of money that goes into trying to understand what's happening with different projects, right? And or what's going into it for development, engineering, science. We're paying some guys some pretty high profile, yearly salaries out there to figure out what to do here.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you look at the list of accomplishments, for the last 100 and whatever it is, 36 years that this industry has been going, I mean, that's a pretty long line of accomplishments we've got. So there's no doubt in my mind we'll figure it out. but I don't think it's going to be figured out in the amount of time that would seem suitable for a Paris agreement. I'm just saying. I'm just going to put that out there. We work at our own pace, and we're typically, as an industry, we're prepared, but we also don't make large judgments until until we have to, because it costs a lot of money. So that's the other part of it. It's expensive.
Oh yeah, it is.
All right. Off to the industry. We're headed over to sports for a little while, Ryan.
Me and Ted Cruz talked about your Houston sports yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
You want to save that one for the Texan talk?
Yeah, we can.
So, Ryan, how much do you think a peace sign costs you these days? Slinging one in an NFL game.
Like this?
Yeah.
I don't know. Are you going to charge me for doing that?
I don't know, man. Antoine Winfield was fined. Did you know that?
For taunting in the Bucks in the Super Bowl?
Yes, he was. So he was Antoine Winfield, free safety for the Bucks, received an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for making a peace sign in Tyreek Hill's face as the Chiefs receiver was getting up off the field in the fourth quarter with the Bucks comfortably ahead. After the Bucks' 31-9 victory, Winfield told reporters he was only returning the favor to Hill, who, he said, made a similar gesture to him during the regular season in a game the Chiefs won 27-24. That was probably, I would have probably kept my peace sign to myself at 27-24.
Well, no,
the 31-9 is a peace sign.
So hold on. On that, they were blowing them out. They were like blowing them out, and then the Buccaneers came back really late. So 27-24, it sounds close. Tyreek Hill had like 200 yards in the first half of that game. It was a massive blowout, and then the Buccaneers came back late. So that's where the peace sign happened in that game. It wasn't like it was close.
Just right there at the very end and said, "See you later." Yeah. Hill scored 3 touchdowns and had 269 yards receiving on 13 receptions in that game, but was held to 7 catches, 73 yards, and no touchdowns in the Super Bowl. But Antone said that the taunting, man, he said it's something I had to do when we played them earlier. Hill went off on us. He did a backflip right in front of my face, gave me the peace sign. So it was like only the right thing I could do to give him a peace sign back. I felt it was amazing. So, but he was fined $7,815, which is pennies, by the $7,815 by the NFL. But while he was doing all of this, he also gave the same amount to charity just after, as it started gaining some media attention. So he got fined. He gave the same amount to charity. So I think it's pretty cool, man.
There you go. $14K going around.
Done. Now we'll talk about the Texans. So tell us what you think about it, Ryan. You said you had something you want to share that you intend to talk about.
So Cruz was saying he's just frustrated that the Houston teams won't trade anybody. They just release them. And so they released Boogie Cousins, he said. They released J.J. Watt. He goes, have we ever heard of a trade? I thought that was kind of funny.
We may be looking at one before long. I don't know. I think it'd be crazy at the moment to do with that. But anyway, where do you think J.J. is going to end up? What do you think?
He's got to want to win a Super Bowl, right?
Agreed.
He's not going to go to some bum franchise. I wouldn't be. I tell you what, I don't.
Well, we know before the first day of spring training. I mean, we know.
Yeah, so how much money is he going to want? That's kind of be the thing. I don't know if he's going to take the league minimum, or is he going to want a decent sized contract? I don't know if he's want to win a Super Bowl.
But if you look at his history here, it wasn't about money. Although he was making a good clip, but it wasn't about money.
Right.
It was about building a team and trying to win a Super Bowl for him. I think anyway. So, I mean, what was his contract? It was 10 years, and how many? It was one of the lower contracts on the team. So,
yeah, I know. I agree. It's not about okay. So what I'm saying is he can take the league minimum.
Yes.
And that means he really just wants to win.
Exactly.
So I don't know if he's that gung ho about winning, or if it's I want to get paid and try to win in the best of both worlds. I've seen the Packers are out there. It's kind of one of the leaders. I guess that would make sense.
You see them all. You don't see them all three on the Steelers.
I've heard the Steelers are out.
My wife thinks it may be the Bears.
His brother got knocked slap out last year at the Steelers game. Did you see that? That was brutal.
I didn't.
Oh man, go look. That's he got knocked out cold.
My wife's thinking the Bears because that's where his wife's at. So
the Bears,
Chicago.
The Bears.
So
okay,
I don't know.
He's going to lose. They ain't got a quarterback.
So the reason we're talking about this is that there's some stuff going around about. There was a piece came out in USA Today, which I thought was quite cool. But some believe that if there's a trade, it might look like Deshaun Watson heading to the Jets, giving the Texans 2 first-round picks. So, well, it includes 2 overall. But as part of the compensation in return, Texans will go after Justin Fields with Ohio State.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you this: if you're Deshaun Watson and you I want out of Houston, you guys suck, and then you go to the Jets,
For real? No. I'm talking trade. I'm talking about trade here for just draft picks. That's what I'm talking about.
You go to the Jets, that's a terrible franchise.
No, it would be, but we're not. Yeah. I mean, if I was Deshaun, I would be probably just step in McNair's office and just what's happening here, man? Come on now. Yeah. I want to win a Super Bowl. I don't want to get.
Well, it's too late now to trade him to the Lions, but the Texans to trade him the Lions, the Jets, the Jaguars, some franchise like that that's not very good.
Some obscure number way down the bottom of
the because that's how you can get the most value probably.
Exactly. Bare knuckle.
Let's go.
So that's BK. Okay, so I watched the last one, Knuckle Mania. It was again, I always say the same thing. It was entertaining. I really enjoyed. There was a couple of upsets there. I really enjoyed the fight. It wasn't if you're listening to the show out there, if you've never caught one of these bare knuckle events, just go check one of them out. I mean, it's worth the time. There's the fighters that are there. There's two types of fighters that are there, right? That I've seen just from my limited exposure with bare knuckle fighting. You either got old school that's going to knock you smooth out, or you got the guy in there that's the lady in there that's 1, 2, 3 fights in, and then that's hungry. And that is gonna fight. So there's 2 totally different sides of the spectrum. They always match up old school with young people in the in boxing. So I find that they have a technique here whenever they're matching these people up that is unlike your typical matchup or your fight card. So it makes it really interesting for me.
Yeah. Feldman does a good job of bringing in, as you say, kind of the older name, not necessarily. So you got some big names, but more or less the older name who's probably past their prime a lot of times. And
I mean, check out Troy Beats here, man. Troy Beats. You got Troy Beats, Michael Bissett.
So Charles Crazy Horse Bennett. He's been fighting since I've been watching MMA. Before that, so that's how long he's been around. Joey Beltran's been around for a while. Johnny Bedford for a while.
De Silva.
So all these guys are old.
Bobby Gunn. Yeah, all these guys are old MMA guys. Yeah.
I don't want to call Johnny. I know Johnny Bedford's your friend. I don't want to call him old. You might get mad. But these guys are older. And so you bring them in and you face them off against another veteran or a young up-and-comer. And if the veteran wins, it's good for the veteran. If the veteran loses, well, then you've kind of taken the young up-and-comer and put them over. And so they do a good job with it. Every Brandon Martin, so
Chris guy, Little.
Yeah. So you see Brandon Martin down there? I used to be his manager. I don't think he's fighting anymore when I was managing fighters. And so I got him in at BKFC 2 in Biloxi, Mississippi. And so
where's he at? Is over here? Yeah,
there he is. And so he fought Marcel Stamps, and then Quentin Henry, who fought on the card that you watched, was one of my guys back when I was managing. Got him in before I got out of the business as well. So it's they do a good production too, though. It doesn't look like a cheap production, and I like that.
No, it. I mean, they're putting a lot of time into it.
Mm.
and that's what I like. I like the I like the way that they hold their events too. I don't. They get in there and they get out of there. They've got good timings on their rounds, and they do it right. They do it right.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So the 2-minute round really takes away the excuse of getting tired.
Exactly.
And so
Exactly.
if you're
Just
out
get
there,
in there, beat the shit out of each other, and be done with it. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
exactly. So we'll jump over here to the card. So right now on the card, there's Leonard Garcia and Joe Elmore, which Leonard's from Lubbock, Texas. Then you got DeMarcus Corley and Reginald Barnett Jr. And so if you look at between Garcia and Elmore, you kind of look at their MMA records and you kind of look back standouts. So my pick here, Ryan, is going to be Garcia. So that's where I'm at with that one.
Muted. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, Garcia, I like the way he fights. He is coming off a loss. Your boy Elmore is 2-0 in bare knuckle. And so I don't know if that third fight's bare knuckle or not, but he's 2-0 in least BKFC. So
yeah,
Garcia is good. I guess I'll go with Garcia as well. And then I'll take I think
this one here. Okay, if you go with if you look at DeMarcus, let's check that out. 51, 33, and 1.
Yeah.
So this guy's been around, having fights for a few years. Then you got Reginald here, 3, 4, and 0. So this is what I'm saying. They put the older guys against the younger guys, and they just let it rip.
Uh-huh. So I was at the fight. If you scroll down, Reginald Barnett. If you go, Johnny Bedford. So he lost to Johnny Bedford. That was in Tampa. I flew down there because that was when Paulie Malignaggi fought on that card. It was headlining the card. He fought Artem Lobov.
When was that? This one here.
Yeah, June of 2019.
Yeah,
in Tampa. And so that was the night that Johnny Bedford won the BKFC card title. He just lost it on the last one we saw. So that was a good production. So flew down to Tampa for that and had a good time there.
So if we look at DeMarcus there, so he's had a few. His last few have been losses. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, boxing.
If you look at
51 and 33.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at what do you want to say? Finesse and stamina, being able to stay in there. I mean, I don't know. I'm still thinking Corley here.
I'm going with Corey because if you look at the guys that Corey lost to, those were boxing up and comers that they were trying to put over, I think. And so I think Corey was getting in there. He was the B side, projected to lose, and
right.
So
we're talking Garcia and Corley.
Garcia, we're on it. It means both lose now. Sorry, guys. Like that.
Yeah, and both of those other guys will win now. So typically not really good at this. Okay, so moving on. So Ryan, I seen it when we were putting together kind of some thoughts about this. So it has been, like I said, been 2 weeks since we had a show. Typically we talk about something, entertainment wise or what's going on out there in the entertainment world. I mean, I've tried to watch WandaVision. I'm not really super stoked about that, but as well as Disney letting go of Gina Carano. So I'm kind of I'm a bit not into Disney at the moment, but I mean I get it. So probably warned a couple of times that she's like probably threw him a peace sign. So I did catch Monster Hunter. Now, if nobody knows what Monster Hunter is out there, it's it's got Mila Jovovich in it, and she's our Resident Evil star for the last 25 Resident Evils, however many there have been. But it was good to see her in a different action movie. So if you haven't seen Monster Hunter, go check it out. I mean, it's even got our hugely democratic Ron Perlman in it. And although I like Ron's acting, he should stay out of politics. But he does a better job acting. So I'm sorry if anybody didn't want to hear that. But anyway, but Monster Hunter is pretty good. If you hadn't seen it yet, go check it out. But Ryan, there's some things here that if you get in a bind in quarantine, if you do have to go in quarantine, let's talk about, days that, because take for example, working overseas and going different places, some places you go in for 7 days, 10 days, 12 days, 14 days. By the time you get cleared and then get on the chopper and head out to the rig, sometimes these guys are in quarantine for 20 days. So if you find yourself in quarantine and you get in a bind and you don't have any underwear, here's some instant underpants for you. So on those days, whenever you don't pack enough or you run out, and you what?
Add water?
Just add water. Instant underpants. So this is we're gonna be 10 items here. This is our first item. So
just add water.
That's it. And so Ryan, when your favorite soap runs out, you can always go with our baking soap in a tin.
Now
for all you hunters out there, baking soap in a tin, that would probably give you that fresh feeling in the morning. But hey, typically whenever I was hunting, I went a couple of days without hitting the shower anyway. So, but you also never know whenever you may need some pickle flavored cotton candy. So
yeah, I'm good.
That's a hard no for me too, but I know there's some people out there that like pickles and will probably find pickle flavored cotton candy probably on the top of their list for Christmas. So, but again, there's things on this list that I find slightly comical. And if I walked into your house and saw probably one of these items, I would probably laugh and wonder what I was doing at your house, especially if I walked into your house. I love my dogs, but they'll never be like this. Anyway, this is a pet butler. So if you want to get that little bit of extra legwork out of man's best friend, here is a serving tray for
my dog's too crazy for all that. She's a Jacoby, so she's like,
look at this cat's face. He's not impressed with this bowl of strawberries.
No, the cat pissed.
But
cat's pissed. That's a hairless cat too, isn't it?
It is, man. It is. It's I was looking at when I first saw this, when I looked at this dog's face, and I was like, you poor animal.
Yeah. At least put a smile on him. I agree.
Oh, something. But the craziest part about this, man, is all of these are real products. I mean, if you look at this, I know it's probably hard to see on screen, but it's got a 4.5 star rating with 558 ratings. So it's so someone is rating this pet butler.
Wow.
Serving vest for your animal. Okay. If you ever wanted to feel like an animal, you could try out this pet butler with your animal, or you can always get some Wolverine meat claws. So these are meat shredding claws that you can actually buy to shred meat, Ryan.
No,
look!
I think I saw.
Look at that.
I think I've seen someone give those as a gift somewhere. I'm trying to think where it was. Ben Samuel popped in the comments down here, Greg.
Did he?
Yeah, we're in trouble. Look at you getting all giddy. You don't giddy over Ben Samuels. Be disappointed.
It did go off the rails pretty quickly, man. We had a good. It was a good show, and then we jumped straight over into this list of stuff from Amazon. One day, Ben, you need to come on, and we'll check it out, and we'll have I hate to use the word three-way, but we'll have a three-way commentary on some of this stuff here. Maybe we can, schedule it up one day. But yeah, Ben, you should try out some of these gloves right here. It'd probably be pretty epic.
I've seen those as a gift somewhere. I'm trying to think of who got those.
Look, man, I mean, it just my wife was all about it. When I found it yesterday, she was like, "Yeah, man, like Wolverine." I said, "Absolutely."
It's unavailable. You can't buy those. They're sold out.
You could probably make them though.
I couldn't, but yeah, I agree. Someone could make those.
So, I mean, moving on from wanting to be Wolverine, for people that like karaoke, but their family or their neighbors don't, we have the karaoke earphone.
Oh, wow.
So this allows you to sing to yourself. So you don't, so you can practice at all hours of the night.
87 people have bought this.
Yes, you can practice at night, early in the morning, and never wake up your siblings, spouse,
It's a cup
children
with a hook. That's all it is, right? There's no technology here. It's a cup with a string that goes to your ear. Like, you remember in high school, like in elementary school, they would do
$69
and 22 cents.
What that is a funnel, a transmission funnel that you put oil in your transmission with an earpiece.
It's a cup with a string. We did that in elementary school for like $1.
Oh my god! Some of these items are wild.
This isn't even Prime. You probably
I know it. You can get it tomorrow.
No, it's not Prime. This is
this is not Prime. But
$75 for a funnel and string.
There is 5 left in stock.
Well, you better get on that, big boy. You better get on that right now.
I wonder how fast I could resell those.
That price not very fast.
So Ryan, if the noise of singing into your own ear doesn't turn you on, then this might though. This
I've lost what?
This is an anatomy. This is an anatomy bathing suit.
What is wrong with this? Like, where have we gone wrong? Like, okay, I need to go watch Fight Club again because I feel like it is more relevant. For
I wonder what colors. Wait, you have what? Oh, you got a skeleton. We got
let's
internal dead muscle. You've got internal organs, or you have muscle. So
go back to the far left one. The far left.
This one.
Okay, I can kind of get this. This is kind of almost like a Halloween joke.
I can too. I can too.
That one, I'm not really sure. We're getting kind of, probably not. That says, okay, that is freak. Like, okay, it's Greg. Let's work this out. You go on the first date with this girl, everything goes well, and you're like, you know what? Tomorrow I'm going to the beach, gonna relax. You want to come? And she's like, yeah, let's go to the beach. She shows up in this. So, like, that's it. That's it. End scene. Go home, pull the ripcord, stick the thing.
Do you try to find a matching one?
No. It would have to come with like I'm gonna get in trouble.
Look. When I was growing up, and of course there's a few years of difference in our ages, but there was an anatomy guy that used to wear this suit like this whenever we were in school. That used to do, not in our school, but he was on like presentations and things during, health class. And I mean, he would wear one of these suits that looked just like that. And I used to think that's the creepiest thing I've ever seen in my life. So when I ran across this bathing suit yesterday, I thought that it would make a good.
I want to see your Amazon history.
My Amazon history, yeah, it's wild. But just so you know, like if you run into any trouble or taking your anatomy dressed, bathing suited girlfriend, wife, significant other down to the beach, and someone wants to take you on a brawl and take him or her away from you, and you get bruised up, you can always put some bacon strip Band-Aids on it. So, there's nothing like a bacon Band-Aid strip. I mean, you can imagine the healing power of bacon just right there in your pocket, ready to go.
You get your bacon soap, and then you get wounded, and you put your bacon Band-Aid.
Ryan, I want to call your attention to the ratings. It's 2,500 ratings here.
4.5 stars. They sell for $6.07.
Yes.
They are Prime, so free shipping, and you can use the coupon to get 92 cents off or 13%. Bacon Band-Aids. Do they smell? Are they smell? You get a free prize.
I'm assuming it's bacon. I mean, there's
a free prize inside.
Oh.
What is that? Like a tattoo? little sticker?
A brand. Hot brand.
I don't even understand. There's a free prize with your bacon Band-Aids.
But while you're waiting on one of these bacon bandages to arrive to your location, wherever you're at, you can always cool down with one of these sodas. So Ryan, there's sweet corn soda.
Oh no, I'm good.
There's a sweet corn soda. Pumpkin pie, buffalo wing sauce soda. Listen, bacon soda.
Well, but
peanut butter and jelly, and then ranch dressing soda. So if you get into a fight, and you're waiting on one of these bandages, waiting to cool off, then have one of these crazy soft drinks there that'll take care of you.
I'm gonna order a 6-pack of those for Ben.
Straight to the toilet.
$30. What am I doing with my life?
Look here, and it's 4 stars.
Okay.
Who drinks sweet corn, sweet water, and thinks that it's good?
331 ratings. I'm trying to sell a $10 a month subscription service that takes me hours to put together. These people are selling bacon Band-Aids and ranch dressing soda. I'm an idiot. I am an idiot.
I want to read one of these 5 stars. Purchase for Christmas gift. Shipping was scary fast, and everything it's intended to be. If you want something that tastes good and easy to swallow, don't buy this.
No, oh man, that's disgusting.
Oh, that's great. But once you get sorted out with your wounds and your thirst, and you want to head out of town for a little while, there's nothing like smelling good when you head out. So next thing up on the list is a bit of dirt cologne. Cologne that smells like dirt.
You can't even buy it. They sold so much of the crap you can't even buy it anymore. Dirt cologne? I've been in dirt. I've never had a woman say, "Come here, big boy, you smell like dirt." My wife, if I go outside for 10 minutes to shower, you stink. Dirt cologne? Dirt. See what other customers buy? What below? The straight below. What are those? Dirt for women. Yes.
Pineapple. Yes. Pineapple perfume. There's some honeysuckle.
Oh, that makes sense. Thunderstorm?
Yeah. But dirt cologne for men and women.
No. Okay, look. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one. Click on it. Click on the 5th one. Yeah, click on that. Click on that. Click on it. Click on it. Kitten fur. Kitten fur. What's wrong with people? Kitten fur. Kitten fur cologne.
Oh, goodness.
Bonfire.
This is great.
Kitten fur cologne.
This is great. Holy water.
That was suggested because people who bought the dirt cologne also wanted the kitten fur cologne.
Pixie dust.
Oh, my gracious.
Then you got a sampler right here. You got baby powder, soap, kitten fur, sunshine, gin and tonic. Yeah, you got the whole set right here for
Gin and tonic makes sense.
It does. But I mean, it comes in a package with kitten fur and sunshine.
Well,
and so that rules out to make sense.
Hold on. Sunshine. You work offshore. You've been in boats and choppers, and you've been all over the world. Can you tell me what sunshine smells like?
Nope.
Okay, good. Neither. So what I'm going to do is
I can't tell you what dirt smells like though.
I got you there.
And it shouldn't have ended up in a bottle. So
yeah,
I don't know what
swamp smells like too, or muck. But so here's what we're going to do, Joe. $1 billion business. We're going to bottle sunshine, which will be an odorless spray, and we're going to just sell it because that's all. I mean, right?
That's $1 million idea.
It's at least $1 billion idea.
Let's go see what they charge for it here. In the sampler, maybe they have a big bottle of it, man. Let me get an idea. Nope. Oh, blender set. Oh, yeah. Nope. I don't see any. But yeah, so there's some mandarin orange in there. Okay, lavender, salt air. Okay, so see, there's a product you can get behind, Ryan. You just go down to the beach,
right,
in Galveston. Take you a couple of those tea jars that everybody's making teas in these days. Just go down there. Just run along the beach. I mean, just while you're doing your morning jog, you can just take you about 5 or 6 of these bottles and just run along the beach and just grab some and throw it in your pocket. And hey, there you go. And like Ben said earlier, sold.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh man, Ryan, that wraps us up, I think, buddy. That list is exhausting to go through, just some of the stuff, but it is fantastic though.
That's
fantastic.
That is unbelievable. Dirt cologne.
But I mean, obviously somebody out there is buying it, are they not?
Well, you think I'm about to go this podcast? I'm about to start looking up how to buy this stuff and shell it. I mean,
for sure, man, for sure. I still think that the salt air is a good one for you.
I think
we live right here on the coast. I mean, you could even probably pay somebody to go down there and bring you some back. So I mean, yeah,
it's crazy.
We'd probably be just as successful as Perseverance is going to be with their soil samples, but and probably would make a bit more money. Man alive. I think that's all for us this week, Ryan.
Well, it was good to get back, dude.
Man, absolutely. So for everyone out there that's watching, if you're still there, or if you didn't made it through this list with us, but if not, there'll be a recap everywhere. But I'm Greg with Lynx, and that is Ryan with War Room Media. You can go check him out. He's got a good commentary, and he does a lot of work with a lot of different people in the public. And you can check him out over at warroommedia.substack.com
or warroomnewsletter.com. You can just put that thewarroomnewsletter.com is easy to get there as well.
Just about in any of our comments and on most of our text that we post everywhere, it'll be in there too. So, yep. So thanks for joining us this week for another edition of Overtime, and that's a wrap.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. You've been watching Overtime, a live series brought to you by Lynx and War Room Media. Your hosts have been Greg Williams and Ryan Ray. For sponsorship opportunities, send us an email at info@riglynx.com. Tune in next Thursday at 10 a.m. CST for another live episode.